Hi guys, in this activity we're going to learn how to create 3D shapes using the Extrude, Bevel, and Revolve options from Illustrator. First, we are going to create a letter size document and save it with the name of 3D shapes. I saved mine in the desktop. Then we are going to change the units of our document to inches, and using the rectangle shape tool, we are going to create a 2 by 2 inches square. Then let's save our work one more time. Open a Finder window and click in Applications. There you'll find the Adobe Illustrator folder. Click in the Support Files folder, then Resources, English, and inside you'll see a Bevel's Illustrator document. Double-click and open it. When this option appears, just click Close. Now we are going to use the Line Segment tool to add a 1-inch line in any part of the document, and then we'll rotate it to -45 degrees. Then we'll go to Window and locate the Symbols panel. We are going to drag our line into the Symbols panel, change the name to Diagonal Line. The export type should be Graphic, and we will change the registration point to the lower right corner, and then we'll click OK. Then we will close the Symbols panel and save our work in the desktop. This is very important. The name should be Bevels with capital letter B, and we're going to make sure that it's saved in the desktop, and then we'll just click OK. Once we do that, we must completely close our Illustrator. Don't minimize it, close it completely. We will open the Illustrator folder one more time, and we are going to delete the Bevels document in there. If it asks for a password, we just put it in and click OK. Now we are going to drag the document we created and put in the desktop inside this folder. If it asks for a password, again, we put it and we click OK. Now we'll open Illustrator and the document we created at the beginning. I am going to change the artwork to 15 inches by 12 inches. Now let's check the result of what we did. Having the shape selected, we are going to go to Effect, 3D, and we will find the Extrude, Bevel, and Revolve options. These are the two effects we are going to use to create our geometric shapes. Once we click OK, we will see all the options that this effect has. First, we have the position. We have front of axis. We also have isometric things. What I recommend is you can start with front, and then you will rotate your shape to see the effect. You can see we can also rotate our shape using the x-axis or from the y-axis as well. We also have some rotate options. This is all about experimenting and see the result of your shape. You can also see the perspective, how the perspective is applied, changing the point of view of our shape. Now, to make our shapes taller, we have to change the Extrude Depth options. And next to it, we have the cap settings, which allows us to create solid shapes or hollow shapes. You can see it better if you change the position from the 3D rotation option. The bevel options will allow us to create different shapes. Now, Illustrator originally doesn't have the diagonal line we added. So if you open Illustrator in another computer, you won't be able to see this option unless you create it again. As we move down on the list of bevels, we can see all the different options and how they change when we increase the height of that specific setting. This is all about experimenting to see different results. At the bottom of the list, we are going to find the diagonal line we created. And by changing the height, we will be able to see how that pyramid will be created. The height value will vary depending on the size of our square. And in position, if you start by putting front and then playing with the X axis and the Y axis into rotation to see all the different faces of the pyramid. These type of pyramids will be only created by changing the bevels document we did at the beginning. Other types of bevels won't give us the same results. At the bottom, we can see the More Options button, which allows us to change how the surface of our shape will look. We have the normal one, which is plastic shading, then diffuse, or the wireframe, where we can see all the faces from our shape. In this part, in this kind of like sphere, we have the lighting points. We can change their position to see how the light affects the faces from our shape. And we can also add more lighting points and see how our shape is affected. On the right part, we have the light intensity, the ambient light, the highlight intensity, and if we play with all these percentages, with all these values, we can see how our shape changes. We can also change the shading color. And once we're happy with all of our settings, we click OK. Now, what happens when I want to change the size of my shape? If I do it with the transform tool, this happens. So if we change the size of our square, we also need to adjust the effect by going to the Properties panel and click on the effect we applied. This will open the 3D box options again, so we can change the height of the bevel we applied and also the extrude depth. Another way to do it is through the Appearance panel. You will also see the effect and you just have to double click on it to open the options back again. Remember, in here you can also change the fill or do it through the Properties panel as well. These are all the 3D geometric shapes you will have to do. Some of them are done using the Extrude and Bevel option and others the Revolve. In the sphere, for example, I only traced half of it. In the Taros one, I used a really small circle, and for the ring, I had to remove the center using the Pathfinder options. So you would have to experiment with both effects to get the 3D shapes correctly. Now let me explain you the revolved effect. For this pyramid, we created a square and we had to change the bevel options. But if we want to create a cone, the process is totally different. When we apply a revolve effect, we only need to trace half of the shape we want to get. Therefore, for a cone, I would have to start with half a triangle. So I use the Start tool. I used the Start tool to create the triangle, and then with the help of a rectangle tool, I created one on top of the half of my triangle, select them both, and I used the minus front options from the Pathfinder to cut it in half. These will be the base of my cone. Then we'll click on the Revolve option of the 3D Effect menu, and we can immediately see how the cone is created. Then we can experiment with the offset values so we can see all the results that we can get from this shape. We can also see how the shape changes if I click on the right edge or the left edge option. And as we did with the Extrude and Bevel settings, we can also play around with the light options so we can have a better effect for our cone. Remember, we can also change the position to see the different faces of our shape. So by experimenting with these two 3D effects of Illustrator, we will be able to create all these different geometric shapes. Now it's your turn to figure it out, the type of shape and 3D effect that you need to apply to successfully create these 3D geometric shapes. I hope you like this video and I'm really looking forward to see your results.